How do the rich use debt to build wealth? Here are 7 ways. Number 1. Leverage. The rich use borrowed money to control larger assets with less of their own capital. For example, an investor uses £100,000 of their own money and borrows £400,000 to purchase a £500,000 property. The investor now controls a £500,000 asset with £100,000 of their own capital. When the property increases in value, the investor benefits from the growth of the entire asset. This is leverage, using borrowed capital to increase the scale of an investment. Number 2. Cash flow. The rich use debt to acquire assets that generate income. A rental property generates rental income. A business generates revenue. An income-producing asset puts money back into the owner's pocket. That cash flow helps cover operating costs and debt payments, while the owner continues building equity and wealth. The goal is simple: use borrowed capital to acquire assets that produce cash flow. Number 3. Real estate. Millionaires use mortgages to acquire property without paying the full purchase price up front. The tenant pays rent. The rental income covers the property's running costs and contributes towards the mortgage. As the mortgage balance reduces, the investor builds equity. And when the property increases in value, the investor benefits from capital appreciation. This is how leverage turns property into a long-term wealth-building strategy. Number 4. Business growth. Successful entrepreneurs use debt to expand businesses. They borrow money to buy equipment. They hire employees. They invest in technology. They increase marketing. And they open new locations. The purpose is to use borrowed capital to increase the company's capacity to generate revenue and profit. When the business grows, the value of the company grows with it. Debt becomes a tool for expansion. If you're finding this useful, follow Waves to Wealth. We break down money, technology, health, and wealth-building strategies in simple terms. Number 5. Acquiring assets. The wealthy use borrowed capital to buy assets instead of using debt purely for consumption. They invest in businesses, they purchase property, and they acquire equipment. They buy assets that generate income or increase in value. The focus is on turning borrowed capital into productive assets. The asset works, the asset generates income, and the asset contributes to growing wealth. Number 6. Scaling. The rich use debt to scale their investments. One asset generates cash flow. That cash flow supports the next investment. The next investment generates more income. More assets create more cash flow. This creates a cycle. Acquire assets. Generate income. Reinvest. Acquire more assets. Over time, the focus shifts from simply earning money to building a system where assets generate money. Number 7. Other people's capital. The wealthy understand that they don't always need to use only their own money. Banks provide loans, investors provide capital, business partners provide funding. That money goes into businesses, property, and assets that generate returns. The wealthy use their own capital alongside borrowed capital to put more money to work. Instead of waiting years to save enough money for every opportunity, they use available capital to acquire assets and grow businesses today. So, how do the rich use debt to build wealth? They use leverage to control larger assets. They use debt to generate cash flow. They finance real estate. They expand businesses. They acquire productive assets. They scale their investments. And they use other people's capital to put more money to work. The goal isn't simply to borrow money. The goal is to use borrowed money to acquire assets, generate cash flow, and build wealth. They don't just borrow to buy. They borrow to build. If you want to understand how money, technology, health, and wealth connect to building a better life, follow Waves to Wealth. And if you found this useful, share it with someone who needs to understand how wealthy people use money differently. I'll see you in the next one.